Timer tech is a relatively new thing to KZ, but it is muy importante. It was created a few years back in an attempt to fix a problem where people stood in the way of the timer, making people unable to start or end the timer. This fix, however, led to big changes in the CSGO KZ scene and how we went for records. What timer tech does is creating an extra button on the first press, so you can basically press it twice the distance further away. What you want to do is press it towards where you are going, so you save that little distance. Here, I'm spamming E, slowly going into the timer. Now I can press it out here, which means that I can press it further away even on this block. When you have set up the timer tech, you don't even have to look at the timer in order to press it. You can look wherever, but if you try to start the timer towards where it wasn't set, you can't spam it. You have to wait around 2 to 3 seconds before you can press the timer again. A thing to note is that these timer tech buttons also get created on timers that aren't buttons. Meaning at, for example, on the start of KZ Avoria, you can still press it a bit further out than where the start is. Now you might think, but Niken, that is a really small distance. How can you say it's that big of a change? Well, it's because this has led to a number of skips, both with the start timer and the end timer. And since records are so dependent on this now, you pretty much have to set up timer tech and able to compete versus the world records. But it wouldn't be KZ without some inconsistencies between plugins. In the KZ timer plugin, timer tech is server-wide. This means that the first person who presses the start timer sets the start timer tech. You probably have noticed this in a public server when you can't press it from where you want to press it. In GoKZ, you can set up the end timer by no clipping to the end, but on KZ timer, you need a timer running. Also, in GoKZ, it's client-side. That means no matter how many are on the server, you're all on different timer techs, depending on how you set it up. However, on the KZ timer plugin, once the timer tech is set up, you can type a +use in the console in order to automatically press the start and end timer when you're in range, which can be very advantageous. That isn't the only difference between the two plugins. On KZ Timer, you can't start the timer if your pre-strafe is above 251 speed, while GoKZ allows max pre-strafe. The timer tech distance is also different between the KZ Timer mode and the SKZ mode. On KZ Timer, it is 70 units away, while on SKZ, it is only 32 units away. In conclusion, timer tech is annoying, a hassle, and it ruins the availability for records on servers with a lot of players. Sometimes GoKZ is more viable, and sometimes you should use KZ Timer. But it's here to stay, so absorb this information, and if you're on a public server where you join first, try to set it up for other people.